How to attract your avoidant partner like never before. Have you ever felt like the more you care, the more your partner pulls away? Like you're pouring love into someone with a leaky cup. You're texting, initiating, planning dates, and in return you get vague responses, silence, or worse, hot and cold behavior. Here's what I want you to know. Avoidant behavior isn't always about a lack of love. It's about fear of losing themselves, fear of being vulnerable, or fear of not being enough. But let me be clear, understanding that doesn't mean you shrink to fit their fears. The real key to attracting your avoidant partner isn't chasing, fixing, or proving your worth. It's about creating magnetic confidence and emotional safety. When you show that you're fulfilled and not emotionally dependent on their validation, they'll be drawn to your strength like never before. Let's break it down. When you're with an avoidant partner, the natural impulse is to do more, text more, give more, prove more. But the truth is, attraction doesn't grow in the presence of emotional chasing. It thrives when you project magnetic confidence. This isn't about playing games or pretending not to care. It's about showing through your actions that your sense of self-worth isn't up for negotiation. When someone feels you need their approval to feel whole, it creates pressure. And pressure makes an avoidant person pull away. But when you show up as someone who is already enough, who values themselves with or without their validation, you shift the energy entirely. Avoidants are often overwhelmed by intensity. They're sensitive to emotional demands, even if those demands are subtle. If you constantly seek reassurance or react anxiously to their distance, it reinforces the story in their head that closeness equals loss of freedom. But when you show that your world doesn't collapse in their absence, something changes. They stop feeling like you're trying to control or contain them. Instead, they start to choose to be around you. That shift from being pursued to being inspired makes all the difference. Magnetic confidence comes from a deep belief that love is a gift you offer, not a prize you chase. It's that quiet strength that says, I want you, but I don't need you to complete me. You express that in how you hold your boundaries. You don't over-text when they go cold. You don't accept last-minute plans like you're waiting on standby. You're not rude, cold, or withholding. You're simply ground. That calm, assured energy says more than any romantic speech ever could. What many people don't realize is that confidence doesn't have to be loud or flashy. It's often the most subtle kind that speaks loudest. It's in how you respond when they pull back. Do you spiral or do you carry on with your life, trusting your own value? That moment of choice communicates everything. If you keep leaning in when they lean out, you become less attractive. Not because you're not amazing, but because you're signaling insecurity. But if you hold your center, if you lean back with grace, you create mystery, intrigue, and most importantly, respect. Your self-assurance allows them to feel safe being who they are, while also inviting them to step up, because they know they're dealing with someone who won't settle for half measures. You're not chasing love, you are love, and that is what makes you magnetic. When you're with someone who has avoidant tendencies, your instinct might be to get closer when they pull away. You want reassurance, clarity, some kind of signal that everything is okay. But with an avoidant partner, that approach often backfires. The more you push for connection, the more they retreat. It's not because they don't care, it's because for them, closeness can feel like pressure. They interpret emotional intensity as a loss of control or independence. The real secret to attracting an avoidant partner isn't about trying harder. It's about creating an environment where they feel safe enough to come closer on their own terms. That safety begins with emotional steadiness. When you're anxious, reactive, or overly expressive in moments when they need space, it sends the message that your emotional state is tied to theirs. And that's exactly what triggers their retreat. Avoidants aren't drawn to people who make them feel trapped or overwhelmed. They're drawn to people who make them feel emotionally free, yet connected. If you can be the calm in the storm, the person who isn't rattled by silence or distance, you become someone they feel safe to open up to. Emotional safety doesn't mean suppressing your needs. It means expressing them in a way that isn't threatening. Instead of accusing them of being distant, which only causes them to shut down further, you approach the conversation from a grounded place. You say something like, I know you need time to process, and I respect that. I just want to stay connected even when we're not talking much. This gives them room while gently reminding them of your presence. No guilt, no ultimatums, just steady energy and self-respect. Boundaries are another key part of creating safety. Many people misunderstand boundaries as something harsh or rigid, but for an avoidant partner, healthy boundaries are actually comforting. They show that you're self-contained, that you won't lose yourself in the relationship, that you can say no, walk away, or protect your emotional well-being when needed. That tells your partner, you are free, I am whole. We don't have to lose ourselves to be together. Giving space doesn't mean emotional distance. It means staying connected in a way that's light, secure, and non-invasive. A thoughtful message without expectation. A supportive gesture without needing a response. It's about being present without hovering. You're not abandoning them, and you're not chasing them. You're holding steady. And for someone who fears emotional closeness, that kind of calm, respectful connection is deeply attractive. When you're in a relationship with an avoidant partner, it's easy to make them the center of your emotional universe without even realizing it. You start rearranging your schedule, pausing your passions, or holding off on making plans just in case they show up. Over time, your world begins to shrink and your identity becomes tangled up in whether or not they're engaging with you. But here's the truth. Attraction doesn't grow when you're waiting around. It grows when you're fully alive in your own life. When you're passionate, purposeful, and lit up from within, you become magnetic. Avoidant partners aren't attracted to neediness. They're drawn to mystery and autonomy. When you have your own interests, your own joy, your own momentum, you send a powerful message. You're already whole. That independence doesn't push them away, it pulls them in. Because now, they're not responsible for your happiness, and that releases the pressure they so often resist in relationships. You become someone who adds value to their life, not someone who depends on them to feel valuable. Think about how you show up when you're fully engaged in your own world. You speak with more enthusiasm. You have stories to share. You're not waiting for a text to feel good. You're already feeling good because you've got plans, progress, and purpose. That's the kind of energy people want to be around. And for an avoidant partner, that energy is even more important. It assures them that you're not trying to merge into their life and lose your own in the process. When you focus on your growth, hobbies, friendships, and goals, you're not only nurturing your own happiness, you're also giving the relationship space to breathe. Avoidant individuals often feel smothered by constant togetherness or emotional demands. But when they see that you're flourishing without needing constant interaction, it changes the dynamic. You're no longer chasing, you're thriving. And that makes you naturally more attractive. The irony is, the less you focus on trying to fix or control the relationship, and the more you invest in becoming the most radiant version of yourself, the more likely your partner is to lean in. Because now, being around you feels light, inspiring, and pressure-free. Your energy shifts from, please choose me, to I choose myself. And that confidence is compelling. You stop revolving around their orbit, and suddenly they're drawn into yours. Not out of guilt or obligation, but genuine curiosity and desire. When you're in a relationship with someone who tends to be emotionally avoidant, it's tempting to let your frustrations speak louder than your heart. You feel hurt, disconnected, maybe even rejected, and your first reaction might be to lash out, criticize, or withdraw. But the way you express those feelings makes all the difference. With an avoidant partner, communication becomes either a bridge or a barrier. If you want to build connection, you need to speak from your feelings, not from your fears. Fear-based communication sounds like blame. It shows up as, you never care. You always shut down. Or, why don't you love me the way I need? And while those words may reflect your pain, they also sound like accusations. To an avoidant person, that feels unsafe. They don't hear your need, they hear a demand. They feel judged, pressured, or like they're failing, and their defense is to retreat even further. The closeness you crave gets replaced with even more distance. Speaking from your feelings, on the other hand, disarms the walls they usually build. Instead of saying, you don't make time for me, you say, I miss spending time with you. Instead of, you're so emotionally unavailable, you say, sometimes I feel a little disconnected and I'd love to feel more in sync. That difference may seem subtle, but it's powerful. You're not pointing fingers, you're sharing your inner world gently and vulnerably. That opens a door instead of slamming one shut. Avoidant partners aren't typically moved by emotional intensity, they're moved by emotional clarity. If you can stay grounded and calm while expressing your needs, they're more likely to stay present. They're not wired to handle explosive or overwhelming emotions well, but that doesn't mean they're incapable of connection. It just means they respond best when they don't feel emotionally cornered. The key is to own your experience. Use I feel statements instead of you always accusations. Share what you need with kindness and specificity. Avoid vague emotional ultimatums or dramatics. This doesn't mean you suppress your emotions. It means you choose to express them in a way that invites your partner in instead of shutting them down. Every time you speak from vulnerability instead of frustration, you signal safety. And that's what an avoidant partner needs more than anything. To feel like emotional intimacy won't cost them their peace. When you show that you can express yourself without chaos or judgment, you become someone they feel safe opening up to, and that's when connection begins to grow. One of the hardest truths to accept in a relationship with an avoidant partner is that love isn't always enough. You might deeply care for them, understand their fears, and try everything to make them feel safe. But if they consistently fall short of meeting your emotional needs, something has to shift. At some point, you have to stop asking, how can I get them to show up for me? And start asking, what am I telling myself I deserve by staying in this? You teach people how to treat you by what you tolerate. And if you keep settling for breadcrumbs, you're silently saying, this is enough for me. Avoidant partners can be charming, intelligent, and emotionally engaging, just enough to keep you hoping. They give you moments of connection, glimpses of closeness, and then suddenly retreat again. This push-pull dynamic is confusing and it keeps you emotionally hooked. But inconsistency is not affection. Hot and cold behavior is not love. It's emotional unavailability dressed up in temporary attention. And the longer you accept it, the more you reinforce the idea that they don't have to change, grow, or step up because you'll keep showing up anyway. Walking away from someone you love, even when they can't meet your needs, isn't about punishment or manipulation. It's about self-respect. It's about drawing a line in the sand and saying, this is what I need to feel secure and connected. And if you're not able or willing to meet me there, I will lovingly release you. That kind of boundary is powerful. Not only does it protect your emotional well-being, but it also forces your partner to confront their own behavior. Sometimes it's the only thing that wakes someone up to what they're about to lose. But even if it doesn't change them, it changes you. It reminds you that your needs are valid, that you're not asking for too much. You're just asking the wrong person. The right person won't make you beg for consistency, reassurance, or basic respect. They'll offer it freely because they're emotionally available and secure enough to give love without fear. When you stop settling, you stop chasing. And when you stop chasing, you make room for something deeper to come in. Either from your partner, if they rise to meet you, or from someone new who's ready to love you the way you deserve. The decision to no longer accept less is not just an act of strength, it's an act of self-love. So if you've been trying to win the heart of an avoidant partner, understand this. You don't need to bend, beg, or become someone else to earn their love. You attract lasting connection not by chasing, but by standing firmly in your value. You create emotional safety not through pressure, but through presence. You become magnetic not through control, but through confidence. When you show up with self-respect, clarity, and emotional intelligence, you're no longer trying to pull love out of someone. You're inspiring them to offer it freely. You become the calm in their chaos, the secure energy they didn't even know they needed. And whether they step up to meet you or not, you've already won. Because you've chosen yourself. Love doesn't require you to lose your voice. Real love makes space for your needs, your truth, and your growth. So be the person who leads with strength and softness. Someone who loves deeply, but never at the cost of self-worth. That's how you attract not just attention, but true connection. Thank you so much for being here, for showing up for yourself, and for choosing to grow through love instead of shrink from it. You deserve a relationship that feels safe, exciting, and mutual. And it starts by being the kind of person who sets that standard without apology. Until next time, take care of your heart, stand in your power, and never forget, the love you seek begins with the way you love yourself. Thank you.